Yes. Welcome to the History of LA Ska one-on-one sessions. I'm Junor Francis, and I'm here with my producer and good friend, Eric Kohler. Now, this series celebrates the ska, rocksteady, and vintage reggae scenes in Southern California and beyond through insightful conversations with legends and modern-day talent, including those behind the scene. And so many people are working behind the scene to make this possible. So whether you watch us on YouTube or listen as a podcast episode, we really and truly want to thank you for your support. And your support is very, very, very important. In this particular special episode, we welcome pianist extraordinary and a true Jamaican giant in jazz, the incomparable and dynamic Monty Alexander. Welcome, Monty. Thanks for taking time out of your afternoon, your busy afternoon, to join us.
Yes, Monty.
It's a pleasure to be with you, gentlemen, and thank you for inviting me, and I'm pleased to receive any comments, questions, advice, whatever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we get into some questions, Monty, I have to share with you. After I graduated from college, I worked at 88.1 KLON Radio.
Yeah.
With the late, great Chuck Niles. I also worked with Helen Borgers, who passed a few years ago. That is where I first heard Monty Alexander. I had a reggae and ska magazine, and I knew a lot. I thought I knew a lot about Jamaican music. And Helen said, "Have you heard of Monty Alexander?" She played me your music because she was such a huge fan of yours, Monty. I fell in love with your music and have been such a massive fan since. So this is a huge honor for me. When I had a radio program called the Havana Kingston Connection, I played your Moonlight City as my intro to my show quite often. So just much love and respect to you.
Mm-hmm.
Much respect back to you, Eric. And it's very nice to hear that story you shared. And certainly, as we go along, I can share to you the unusual nature of my journey, you know. So yeah, man, go ahead.
Yes, so let's start by talking about your new album, Love Notes, which is an ode to all things romantic. Why did you decide now, for after, I guess, the first time in 50 years and after about 75 projects, and I'm probably undercounting, to record an entire album of you as a vocalist?
I think a guy like me, having done so many musical projects with so many wonderful artists and finding my own road as I go along, and the piano became front and center for me to tell a story with the songs and the music. And the thing about my musical taste is what you call very varied. I like music. That's the best way to put it into an explanation, because people tend to have a category.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm born and raised in Jamaica, but I'm not a Jamaican musician. I'm a world musician. I think of the world. Yes. And the thing for me that was a real gift was, as a young person, we had this radio station in Jamaica, one humble little radio station, Radio Jamaica, and they would play, if the radio was on, you heard one kind of song, and then the next song was a different kind of song. Yes. And then after that, another kind of song. And I mean, you hear country western, you hear something we used to call semi-classical, the piano. And then you hear something sound like blues, you hear something sound like Dixieland, and you hear something sound like Cuban. You just heard a whole myriad of different kinds of music. But the thing that grabbed me, of course, melodies grabbed me, but rhythm, what we say rhythm, right? From I was very young, the thing I found out that when you get into the rhythm, and you not only embrace it, but you put your powerful experience, feeling into it, I would see the room shake. I would see people respond, and in my joy with this rhythm thing, I would get very happy. It was like, you never had to go to the doctor for the medicine. The medicine was right there with the music, you know? And then when you look around and you see, at an early age, when my relatives would come by and them say, "Monty, play the piano," and I start doing my piano thing, even 5-year-olds, them start smiling and happy, and you know, and so I said, "Boy, this is a great thing to do." And
yes, man.
Exactly. And as I went along, then in my early teens, I started playing at these little events, And I'm put a little school band of guys, and I said, we're going to play some songs like Little Richard or like Fats Domino, and we're going to play, you know, I mean, I was already playing with the mentor musicians in Jamaica. So I was getting into this whole, what you call, social experience with the great musicians that I adored, because my elders were, I never went to the music school per se. My teacher was just being in the room with the various musicians. That's where I pick it up by vibrations. All my music is vibrations and my ear, you know. As far as this,
Monty, on that note, did you work with Lord Tonamo at all?
No, I never worked with Lord Tonamo, but I booked him up in England, I think. That's where he was, right?
Canada.
Yeah. That, well, I mean, he's one of those names that I used to hear because my time around the musicians that were playing in the early days, I literally used to, I used to sneak out of school. We used to thief out. I used to, you know, I did not like the school thing at all.
Yeah, join the club.
Join the club. And I would thief out and go to what was now the first place that was recorded. It was Federal Records. And that is where Kingston and Duke Reed and young Chris Blackwell, they would rent the studio time and come in.
But they didn't have studios yet, right?
No. And I was one of the piano guys at 14 years old.
14. Wow.
Wow. Okay. No kidding.
Yeah.
Because I was already playing the rhythm on the piano. I knew what, and I could lock the rhythm like I own it. It's not like, let me try to play the piano. I own this thing. The piano became an extension of me, you know?
Yes, man.
That's how I felt. When I first started the piano, I felt like it was my favorite toy. You know, when you're a little kid, you have that, whatever your toys. Well, my favorite toy was the piano, and because of the song, but rhythm, and by the way, all this the stuff about ska is coming from rhythm and blues. And the people who laid it down that we heard on the radio, which Kingston heard and Duke Reed heard, was like Louis Jordan. And he come with the big beat, the rhythm. Yes. But the Jamaicans wanted to play that. And when they played it, they found that they would even have their own stamp by putting their feeling in the rhythm, which was, you could feel the mentor, and you could feel this other attitude where how the drummer would play the backbeat, and you had the little ska beat in the middle. So I was doing that, you know, and I was there at the very beginning of the whole thing. But for me, why I end up singing, this is one of my first loves. Because my parents had albums of Nat King Cole in the house, and I would hear these songs by this amazing voice, man. And even at 6, 7 years old, I'm singing, walking down the street. They try to tell us we're too young, all them kind of songs. And I would get the goosebumps, you know. And the artists in Jamaica, a lot of them love Nat King Cole and Brooke Benton and Jackie Wilson, you know, these kind of songs with harmonies. So I just went back in my memory of joyful music, and that is a spirit in this record where I bring it with a reggae vibe somewhat, you know, one drop. And I'm vocalizing, and the vocal thing came out to my satisfaction. And this is why we have Love Notes. This is it.
Well, and to the satisfaction of your fans. It's a beautiful, simply impressive album too. So
thank you.
We're big fans.
Before we jump though, so what school you went to? So big up your school in Jamaica, no?
I went to JC, Jamaica College.
All right.
And if you get on that bus right outside the gate, it take you right down to Foreshore Road where Federal was. So, but anyway, I went to JC, and I was a day boy, we used to say, as well as for a little while. I ended up boarding there. I didn't enjoy the time, but I made my friends, the school guys, you know, form a little school band just for fun when the girls would come and show up at the dance and that type of thing. So that was my beginnings with the music itself. But it all changed for me when I saw Louis Armstrong, when he came to Jamaica. And the other man I saw, like when I'm 10 years old, 11 years old, was Nat King Cole. He came to Jamaica. Carib Theatre was this place where these foreign artists, Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, and you name it. They had all these artists from abroad, from
That was
foreign.
luxury, that was a luxury seeing these people, especially.
It was more. It was an incredible luxury.
So not too many kids are able to even go to the theater.
Yes, but I used to go to the theater to watch the movies, the pictures, and I saw, every Saturday morning, Junior, you may remember the cowboy pictures.
No man, we never have TV, because we never country.
Right, you're in the country.
Yeah, man. No radio till later on when Ska. By the time it's rolling now, then they have transistor. So that's where right. But of course, I used to go to Kingston regularly and Mandeville. You'd hear the music. But when Ska and when transistor came into existence now, I was one of the first one who got one. So in a sense, Ska became my surrogate mother and rocksteady, because my mother was able to go to England, send money to buy radio. So the music took her place. I'm sorry, Mom. She's dead now. I can say that.
That's sad to hear. Sad to hear. But you're from Mandeville?
No, 12 miles south. That's my town.
Okay.
I'm 12 miles south of Mandeville.
So just like Manchester. There's a Manchester guy, like Mr. Ranglin, Ernie Ranglin.
Yes, man. Byron Lee come from up there too, but he's from Christiana.
All right. Well, I went to that school named the Carteret.
What you know, madam?
I went to the Carteret, so I spent a good 4 years up there.
What?
Because I was away from home, in up there, and I was a miserable little boy because the school them had the English people there. That if you did something, them did like you get a lick, you get the cane in.
Corporal punishment, let them call it.
Corporal to rotted.
Wow.
So that was my beginning, but the music thing was my way away out of a lot of pressure. So the piano and the music became my passport.
Yes.
To a world of treasures, and gave me this life with music. So I really was a part of this beginning with Ska. I was right there with Don Drummond, Ronan Alfonso.
Wow.
I was, I come before Jackie Mitu.
Yes. Right. Okay.
I knew Lloyd Nibbs, Clue J, Cloet Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And I, them like me, these guys with Dizzy Moore, Johnny Dizzy Moore. All of these men were like my favorite people to be around.
Wow.
Owen Gray had some big hits, right?
I played behind Owen Gray. Wow. I played, and I remember Wilfred Edwards.
Yes,
also Jackie Wilfred. Mm-hmm. And I played behind Higgs and Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And I played behind Keith and Enid.
Amazing. Yeah.
And the ones that became the most well-known were the Blues Busters. Lloyd and Busters. So that was the beginning,
Yeah.
And then after that, it went into other artists that came. But I remember that very beginning.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you touched on it, Monty and the Cyclones. So to talk about forming that group.
Well, I knew these two other fellas play a little guitar, another guy could play, and I had an accordion, the two we call it squeeze box, accordion.
Squeeze box.
Yeah, man. And another one, I can't remember the guy, and he played little drums, right? But my inspiration was everything from those American rock and roll guys. Like I said, Little Richard, Fats Domino, and Elvis Presley. It's like a very cool thing to be 13, 14, and you have a band, you play the little dance, and the girls come and them like you, and that's a lovely thing. But one thing led to another, and we actually made a couple of recordings, and I'm trying to remember, it was Corey who had Federal and Coxsone, and we cut these various tracks. And I remember I took a Little Richard song that was called Lucille, but I changed it, and I played the left hand, like boogie woogie thing. Boom, 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 bim, bim, boom, 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 bim, bim. And I had a tenor player. And when I hear it back, I said, man, that thing's slamming, really rocking. And we were just young guys, So that one I played South of the Border.
Yeah. Yes.
I played Summertime, and we put this rhythm on it that was like Bill Doggett. Now, Bill Doggett had a way of playing his organ, and it was for dancers. Dancers love Bill Doggett. And we used to call it a chugging rhythm. and this rhythm, for me, that seeped its way into the whole makeup of the rhythm that later on was a reggae pattern. So when you hear the keyboard, what we call the bubble,
yes, man,
the bubble come from Bill Doggett. I'm telling you a fact.
wow,
And people might not know about it. That's my opinion. And then the ska is just that's the Jamaican way to feel the beat. So it was about making sure that the rhythm was so tight that people get up to dance, drink a beer, get on the dance floor, lean up against the sound system speaker, get a vibration from the speaker. And it was a beautiful experience. And I would go to the sound system near where, not far from where I live, on a Friday, Saturday night, and watch the people dancing. And that get to me. Wow. And made me love music even more. That made me see how music make you happy.
Absolutely.
You must have had very liberal parents who let you go out farm band at that age still, eh?
Well, I don't know,
so to speak.
I'll tell you what the story, because some families have a similar situation. One parent ready to help me go play it here, play. The other one said, no, you can't go, right? So my mother was the one that said, you shouldn't go out at night because you have to go to school in the morning. But we popped through the back gate, gone. And my father, he took pleasure in seeing me playing at the piano at the local places.
Yes, that was the key, man.
So my father was, whereas my mother wanted me to maybe grow up and be successful with some kind of profession. But see, too bad, the piano and the music,
yes, sir,
and all that, you know.
Well,
and that's the story with a lot of artists, a lot of music people, the parents. In fact, Nat King Cole himself, father was a preacher. Right. And there's a song on the record we all know, it's called Straighten Up and Fly Right. Well, Nat's father, when he would give the sermon, one of his favorite little sayings was an admonition to the congregation. He'd say, y'all got to straighten up and fly right. You got it, you know? and Nat remembered that and wrote that in the song.
Yes.
Straighten up and fly right. And they wanted Nat to be no, they didn't go into that, but he wanted to go hang out and watch the musicians play, even as a teenager. So many artists had that same scene.
Yes,
right. Interesting enough. So let's talk about when you relocated, you and your family back in 1961. I guess your port of entry was Miami, right?
That's right, Junior. Yes. My mother had met some people that had vacationed in Jamaica, and they met at some hotel place and must have had a little drink and become friendly. And they liked her. She's a very out vivacious person, my mother, you know. And it ended up where they invited her, you should come to Miami Beach with Sebs, all of that, you know. So she made an arrangement that my young brother and myself would go visit with these people that they knew. Right. And they actually were part owners of a hotel on Miami Beach.
Wow.
So we were able to, it's like, you know, coming from above, this gift, you know. So we went to Miami, and it turned up, went there on a little holiday trip. Wow, America so special, you know, the sidewalk clean, and, you know, the people, it's in the beaches, easier. So you're smelling the suntan lotion all the time. And we went back to Jamaica, and then she made an arrangement, because that was an opportunity to move to the land of opportunity, America, right? And we did. And the point is, when we came, the idea was that maybe I would go to some kind of school, because I'm now 17 years old. And same thing with me. I don't want to go to school, man. You know, I'm already enjoying this thing, you know. And I started hanging out at the clubs and the bars. And in those days, those bars and clubs were inhabited a lot by some dangerous people, night crowd people, the drugs.
Yes.
And you would see, no kidding, you would see the tough guys, a guy well carrying a weapon, you know, there's kind of places, frankly speaking, the pimps and the hookers, everything. But I don't care about that. I go out and play music, you know. And I'm going from place to place to place. And then one day, a guy hired me to play. And I got a bass player. And my mother is all set now. We have this apartment. And one thing led to another. I got the union card.
Okay.
And I'm still 17, turning 18. And I started playing all over Miami, Beach and Miami. And I had like a combo. And the people liked me because I already knew songs. I knew a lot of songs I heard Nat King Cole sing.
Yes.
A lot of standard. Bing Crosby, Nat King Cole, Billy Eckstine, popular songs. So I have the repertoire. And I could do what I did. And people say, hey, kid, I like how you're playing the piano, you know. And one night, Frank Sinatra walked into one of these clubs. And he and his friend, Jilly was his name, they said, you should be in New York.
Wow.
This is exactly what happened to me. And well, that wasn't the only time. I saw them again 6 months later in Las Vegas. By the time I went to Las Vegas, this is all like serendipity, man.
Yes.
Providence. And then they sent me an airline ticket, and I was in New York playing at a place called Jilly's. And I'm in that company of these folks who live the high life.
Yes.
So, and during that period, when I'm 18, 19 years old, I'm not seeing many people from Jamaica at that period. And, you know,
But there weren't very many in New York at that time. Very few.
Very few. And if I think I'm walking past a guy on the street and I hear our way of talking, I stop and I turn around and say, hey, what part you come from, man? And next thing, you're making friends with somebody just because they came from Jamaica.
Sure.
But there were very few, even though, but by the way, Jamaicans and other West Indians were coming to America from the early 1900s. You know, when you think about General Colin Powell from Manchester, his family came to America way back.
So he was born here.
He was born here, but his heritage meant the world to him.
Yeah, they came early for him to have been born here.
So there were a lot of West Indians in Harlem, you know, and the Bronx. But as far as people coming recently from Jamaica, you know, and I hardly saw any. But then as the years went by, you know, you hear, you know, so many people from home, you know.
Yes. Monty,
but yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, please.
No. You shoot me a question, I can.
So when we say the name Ernest Ranglin, what words come to mind?
Beyond category. Ernie is beyond category. Ernie, one of them people that's so gifted with music.
Yes.
I used to say, Ernie have a way of playing the guitar. He can make it walk across the room.
Wow.
He's a magician with his guitar and play, and he's fun. He's having fun and he's playing the jazz, but in the middle he can play the rhythm and play all kinds of things. So he is one of those people that I would say more responsible than most of everybody else for how Jamaica's music became accepted around the world. Right. Ernest Ranglin. He would arrange them. I mean, as you know, when My Boy Lollipop, Ernie put that whole thing together in England, you know, little Millie. So, and not only that, but when I first saw him, because Ernie is a good several years older than me.
Yeah,
but I was
90.
Yeah, he's now 90.
Yes, sir.
And when I saw him playing the guitar, I said, wow, look at this guy. I was totally taken in with his way of playing, and it inspired me to be like that with the piano. So it's like Ernie played this rhythm, play that, and that's the way I felt about the music on the piano.
And that's why he taught him how to play self-taught.
He's self-taught.
That's what I heard.
But is far more disciplined than I am, I'll be honest with you. Because Ernie actually would get the books, the Glenn Miller charts and the Tommy Dorsey, the big bands, you know, because he started playing in some of those bands that produced an earlier kind of music. You know, they were trying to play the American, you know, songs. Right. And they had the music. And Ernie kind of, I think he taught himself to read. And he had an uncle that helped him, you know, showed him things on the guitar.
Okay.
Wow.
But Ernie is for me the backbone
Yes, sir.
Not necessarily of the deeper the deep roots, because it's those other guys together that they came together of one accord, and the music took on a focus. It's like the same thing that happened with Berry Gordy and Motown, and the guy in Memphis with Stax Records, and it was all happening at the same time. 1958, 59, 1960, 61, and then this thing was happening where these popular music forms were coming out of Jamaica, Detroit, Memphis, you know. So it's an amazing development how the music became such a,
you're not kidding, beyond amazing,
a world favorite, you know. People all over the world, and we say ska, which happened way back when. But friend of mine who was playing drums with me started working with the New York ska band, and he said to be out there playing in Europe, and the musicians, 3 Italian guys, 2 Americans, somebody else, and he's the Jamaican playing the beat on the drums, and to see thousands and thousands of people dancing and grooving to the music. You know, it's a really amazing.
Absolutely true.
And they're still grooving, man. They're still grooving.
Yeah,
you're still grooving, sir. So, what kind of credit would you give to Drummy? Because my understanding is that when Nibs came on the scene and started working, especially with Cox and Dad, was when the beat officially became ska. Even though it was around before, but the shift came primarily with Drummy, the timekeeper.
Well, the timekeeper and Mr. Lloyd Brivet, don't forget, the two of them became like the anchor.
Yes.
Because sometimes Brivet would be playing and him didn't necessarily have to play the correct note. I'm telling you, sometimes boom, 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 but it was a sense of this is what we do. And he and Drummy, he and Lloyd,
right,
2 Lloyds, right?
Yes.
It became established, but there were other guys in the studio that played drums.
Oh, yes.
In fact, there was a guy we used to call him Drum Bago.
Yes. He was just
Drum Bago, and there were a couple other guys, and then there was some of the recordings of all things. These guys that had come from Australia were playing in the studio. They were very efficient, and they learned some of the local stuff. So one fella named Lowell Morris, he was playing on a few tracks, which is the very beginning now, you know, because before that, the only recordings that went on was because a man named Stanley Motown had a record shop, and he was recording the Mento, you know, Lord Power, Count Lasher, Calypso, what we used to call Mento, you know. And then little by little, the studios, where there was Cox and Dodd, Clement Dodd, wanted to emulate American rhythm and blues, Roscoe Garden, and some of those guys were trying to sing like that.
Right.
And little by little, the true Jamaicanism came out, but it was the beginning of it was rhythm and blues of USA.
Right. So you mentioned both Lloyds, and I know that you played with them and you've known them over the years. In the 90s, you also, after obviously a number of years of you playing jazz and different forms of music, you did record again with the Scatolites for the High Bop Ska album.
I remember that,
which was an incredible album. Talk about at that point working with the Scatolites again.
Well, it was like a reunion because it was a couple of them that from the early days, you know, and then there were some other more recent guys who fell for this music and had become a part of the group, you know. I can't remember his name. It was a trumpet player that he would be a part of it.
Nathan Breedlove?
Maybe. And he had that, like Dizzy Gillespie, the great jazz trumpeter. Dizzy had the horn going up in the air, you know. Yeah. Supposedly it had bent. It got bent in some club. Somebody stepped on it or somebody, and he kept it because the sound went up in the air.
Right.
Yeah. But as far as the other guys, I think, by the way, Roland Alfonso, I literally love that man like he was my uncle.
Sweet man.
Sweet, and you know, I remember
Very
I'm playing humble, and I'm playing at a jazz club in Manhattan now. I'm on my way doing the jazz, and I'm playing at the club, and I look up and two guys walk in the door. It was Coxon and his very good friend Roland Alfonsi. The two of them, they were very chums, very good buddies. You know?
Yes.
So by then, they both were living in New York, right?
Yes, because Brooklyn, they moved to Brooklyn, you know.
Yes.
And in fact, Mr. Dodd Coxon, he started a record shop there and started doing some recording, trying to keep what he had done in Kingston, you know.
Right.
And Roland also was there, but Roland suffered a stroke. But he's still playing on that record. You might know the one that Ernie did called Below the Baseline.
Oh, yes. Incredible. Yes. Love that
and
one.
and I was a part of that because I helped to put it together. I guess they called Monty producer. Well, I was just there to put the vibe in, you know. And in fact, the drummer on that was not a Jamaican. The drummer is a great New Orleans drummer who passed away, Idris Muhammad.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's the drummer on that. And so but somehow, because if you think about the New Orleans grooving,
sure. Yeah.
it perfectly blends in with Jamaican rhythm, you know.
Absolutely does. Absolutely does. Yes, yes.
Nice. So did you work with Coxon and Roland while they were in New York? Well, they no longer.
I'm not remembering who was, but Mr. Dodd, he was not a part of the High Bop Ska. I don't think he was there, but there was a fella you may know, Herbie Miller.
Oh, yeah.
Herbie had contacted me. He had this idea because he's a jazz guy, you know?
Yes.
And he knew I was out there with some of the great jazz musicians.
Right.
And he put that whole thing together. And it was a nice moment, you know. I remember they did one of my tunes, Renewal. We did. My dad heard it, said, "I want to play that tune." And we played Renewal and various other songs. So it was a moment where I saw some of those guys, Roland, of course, but I'm not remembering the other people that were on the session.
No worries at all. Monty, you clearly have done a lot of different band configurations, trios, your various combinations. One in particular that Junior and I saw up at Sierra Nevada World Music Festival in Northern California was when you were on stage and you had two bands. You had the Gumption Band, and then you had a jazz band. And for us in the audience, I will speak for the majority of them. Never seen that before, and it was just phenomenal, mind blowing. You know, we can go on and on. Simply marvelous. Talk about that if you would.
I talk about it because it's my way to live out my dream. I remember when I was playing in some of these clubs in New York, and I had very excellent jazz American guys, you know, mostly African American guys, you know.
Top of the line, man. Top of the line.
Top of the line.
Yes.
And they like how I play, and we're enjoying ourselves and all that. I go into something that might be considered a one drop kind of rhythm or a calypso, anything Jamaican, and I noticed it wasn't quite that actual feeling they want to get, and I realized that to play this music, to play it in authentically, which is the only way to do it. If I could afford to have the other guys on the bandstand, and I would find a way to have one unit and the other group at certain times in a song, and then they come together, and it would be like an explosion of surprise, and the rhythm was, and there would be a point where one band would stop, the other would stop. I won't say a band because to me it was one band. It's just that instead of having trumpets and saxophones, I had rhythm. The whole thing was about rhythm.
Yes.
And what we call in the swinging concept of jazz, the 4/4 swinging thing, but then it morphs into the groove that Jamaica is about. And it was my way to enjoy my dual citizenship. You know, I'm a Jamaica guy, but I'm an American guy. I grew up loving all the American music, the singers, Nat Cole, Frank Sinatra, and Charlie Parker, and Miles Davis. But at the same time, I grew up loving Sugar Belly. Remember Sugar Belly?
Yes, man. Of course. Yeah.
So that's how that happened. It was just me going ahead and doing this very unusual thing. And in fact, on Saturday, I'm going to do it in Montclair, New Jersey, at the festival there. And I'm going to have my two drummers and two bass players. And it's going to be with a party. It's a party event. And I'm looking forward to it very much.
So has anybody ever done that before, sir? Is that a completely, totally original concept?
I think so. I'm not claiming for it. I don't know, but I never heard that anybody. I hear some of the jazz musicians would have two drummers, two bass players, but they're using it to do very unusual things. Not necessarily about rhythm, locking in the rhythm. They're playing experimental, great, you know. But that's not what I'm coming from. I'm coming from the spirit of Jamaica, the spirit of Harlem and New Orleans. What jazz to me is Chicago, South Side, Harlem, where Duke Ellington wrote his music. In fact, wonderful stories about when Duke went to Jamaica. Wow. He met Count Ozzy.
Oh, that's deep.
Yes, wow.
I'm telling you, because that's Duke was this open-minded guy. And a dear friend of mine was the great musician who passed away 3-4 years now, Randy Weston.
Okay.
And Randy, who family is Jamaican and Panamanian, but very strong. He grew up respecting Marcus Garvey, you know?
Yes.
And he went out of his way, or he was introduced to Count Ozzy, and he played a concert where Count Ozzy had his drummers, you know? So it's about, like when Bob Marley said, one love. That's what the thing is. When I do this band, it's a one love thing. People that don't know each other necessarily, that come from two different kinds of worlds, but when they come together with the music, it's a one love thing.
Music is universal, yes.
And that's what happens. And I wish I could do it all over, but it's not. You have to do the PR and try to get people to do it, and you know, so it's not just playing music. The other things involved.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, sir. So get contemporary, which is a joke. Robbie Shakespeare, a good friend of yours, he became an ancestor not so long ago. Let's talk a little bit about him and working with him. What was it like?
Man, Robbie walk in the room and you feel roots right away, you know? And he and his partner in grooving, Sly, this quiet, gentle guy, you know, and he had all the rhythm patterns, you know. And when Robbie dropped those few notes, man, it was like the only way to go, you know. And it was what you call soulful, and street, you know. He come from down to earthness of a variety that as much as it can be. And you know, he was a tough guy.
Yes, man.
At least he played the board. If you see his expression, you know, it's like, whoa, don't mess with Robbie. Don't mess with Robbie. And we were in Japan together, like a quartet, Sly and Robbie, me and Ernie Wrangler. We played.
Yes, you did some tours throughout a number of places, but Japan you did, I think, pretty extensively, right?
We went just to play at the club, the Blue Note.
Blue Note. There we go. Yeah, great foot line of that. Yeah.
Yes, and it was memorable time, and just being around Robbie, you know, and his sense of humor, and the way he was. Those two guys were real salt of the earth guys, real yard, you know. I had a nice time.
And you recorded the Monty Meets Sly Robbie album, which was right. Incredible. And maybe even beyond that some.
Was that the only work you did with them?
No. Sly made a record on his label, Taxi, I guess.
Yes, yeah, man, Taxi.
And they played he kind of combined kind of Latin influence.
Oh, nice.
And he told me, say, you know, I was young in younger days. I heard a record you made, where in the beginning of me trying to expose a Jamaican vibe in the music with jazz musicians, I played a version of Big Yellow Taxi from Joni Mitchell's song, Big Yellow Taxi.
Yes.
And Sly heard that record, and it had a vamp on it, and he never forgot the vamp and
Wow.
couldn't wait to play it with me. And we
Yeah.
recorded Big Yellow Taxi. We recorded the theme from Mission Impossible, you know.
Oh, you on that one too.
And there's an album that, you know, I'm on that particular record, but we always talk about, we got to do it again, we got to do it again. It didn't quite happen, you know.
Yeah.
And in fact, I called him on the phone some months ago, you know, after Robbie passed and became an ancestor. Thank you. That's what he is. And we talking, and I called him up, and we were so happy to speak on the phone, you know. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in the near future.
Do you regularly keep in touch with Rangland still?
Absolutely. And I saw Ernie about a month and a half ago. I was in area. He lives near Ocho Rios.
Okay. Oh, you went to Jamaica recently?
I was down there recently.
Oh, very recent.
And
he's still performing?
Occasionally something will come up and let's go. Get the guitar and he go there and he play just like before, you know. Yeah. But let's face it, 90 is an elderly age, you know, so he has to be careful, and people just look up to him with such admiration.
Yes, sir.
But when he starts to play his instrument, it's like 1 in a million. But we talk, man. We have this old friendship, you know. And you know, the thing about he and I, what we share is that we can change gears and be a part of what people call the jazz experience in the true way, you know, as if we were on the bandstand with the American jazz guys, and then change the direction and we're right back home, you know.
Yes.
So people always like to make the comment that Monty and Ernie, you know, but we always had some kind of a hard to explain hookup.
Yeah.
Like when we start playing, that is like a compatibility that when we play knife, you know, like Batty and Bench.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had the pleasure of seeing Rangland out here. Well, once for the documentary that when we met you as well, that Brian and Wayne Jobson worked on, but also Joey Altruda, who's one of our pride and joys out here, brought Ernest out here a couple times over the years throughout the 90s and 2000s. So yeah, definitely amazing and wonderful to see him.
I remember that. I remember Joey. I remember him quite well, and really to see a guy from a whole different world fall in love with that vibe, you know.
Yes, so, passionately, man. Yes,
very passionate.
I'm on the road. I'm going places, and there's some young musicians in Belgium. I remember I was playing, and a young lady came up to me, and she was a trumpet player, and they have a ska band in Belgium near Brussels or something. I wanted that I would join them, and you know that so it's all over the world now, you know.
Oh yes, man. Oh yes.
It's true. Monty, we know your time is extremely valuable, and we appreciate this. I wanted to ask you something that's completely different topic that I heard you talk about that was fascinating. Is you're a big fan of boxing?
Big time.
You talked about the similarity in rhythm between music and boxing. Is that? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, there's so many different approaches to even answering the question. But I remember as a kid, first of all, sitting there at like 12 years old, and once again, my father, he loved the sport, and he knew the promoter in Jamaica and the local fighters, you know. And I saw these guys. We have this cricket field, sports field called Sabina Park in Kingston, you know, and we would go there, and I remember seeing the lights shining down on the ring, and I would look at the floodlights, and you see the little flies flying around and thing, and they would have the fights. And then I remember I got the excitement of this event the same way when you go to hear the musicians in a club and you're excited to hear the music because that's a part of it. You feel elated, right? Years and years, I was in the company of Evander Holyfield.
Okay.
And we were talking, and I said, you know, to me, this thing is all about rhythm. And there's different ways what it means to him. And Evander turned to me and said, that's it, man. It's rhythm. And why I say that also, when you have two fighters, if they have a rhythm that is conducive to one another, then you got a great fight.
Yes.
If the rhythm isn't there, is one of them fight where you fall asleep because they can't. The guy is always something going wrong.
Yeah.
When Muhammad Ali fought, who was to me the king, right? There were other people. My hero was also Sugar Ray Robinson, who by the way came to Jamaica, and they had a way of turning a boring interest, a boring kind of experience into something exciting.
Right.
Because it's these two men going at it. Yes, they're going to be brutalizing the other guy. Hopefully not going to hurt him to that terrible position of you are going to end up in the hospital. But boxing is a noble art. It's a noble art. It's something where skill, of course, the guy gets knocked down, he come back, get back up, and that's when you have those thrilling fights. But I was around boxing a lot, and our Jamaicans were were a big part of the whole scene. I mean, Lennox Lewis, Jamaican, and Trevor Burbick was another. When Mike Tyson knocked him out, But every Saturday night, if I'm home, click TV time, man. I'm sitting there watching. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I want to shoot one more at you. Dan Drummond. Did you work with Dan at any
Yes,
member?
I did. Yes, I did. Dan was a withdrawn, what you call, personality. Him not want to say, hey man, how you doing? No. Him kind of look like, like he was always, very thoughtful, thinking a lot. And I remember one time he was doing something in that studio that only usually a child would do. When the mother would say, go stand in the corner. Just go stand in the corner. I would see him just standing in the corner, talking to himself. And this is where you have a person with a different outlook on things, right? So I recognize, but when he blew the horn, I tell you right now, the walls wanted to tumble down.
Yeah.
And he had a way, something about him that made him kind of like, to me, like in jazz, a Miles Davis or a Thelonious Monk. These guys are one in a million. And he had a sound, powerful. And musicians I know in America who are from the jazz language, there's this one trombone player, brother who happens to be the brother of Wynton Marsalis, is Delfeo Marsalis. And we did music together. He came to Jamaica and we recorded at Tough Gong.
Wow.
One of the first things he wanted to know was where was Don buried. Wow. He wanted to go to the cemetery and just be there, because to him, Don Drummond was something beyond expression. He was. So I didn't really have a lot of talks with them, but a lot of those men had an understanding of each other. But Don was, without question, the forerunner. I mean, you had Nibs back there playing it, laying it down. You had Ernie putting extra stuff on other people. But as far as the horn section, Drummond seemed to be the engine,
Right. That's what the timekeeper said, Lloyd. He said every night Don was just leading him and he just had to keep up. Even though he's a timekeeper, he had to play above and beyond expectation just to stay with Dan.
Wow.
He was at that level.
Wow.
Every night.
Yeah.
Night after night. He draw solo where people are wondering, where did this come from?
Exactly. You said it perfectly. And the fact that Lloyd said that, I agree, but of course, it was one of these people with a high, maybe bipolar, the people that suffer from that condition. And as you know, the very sad ending, tragic, and happen, people that lose it, emotions couldn't handle it. But when it came to music, he really was amazing, And I remember, I wasn't there, but when the girlfriend lost her life, the court case, it was a very sad story, as is the case with a lot of geniuses,
Sure. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. I think we should mention Reggae Russell, right?
We want to thank Russell Gerlach for a mutual friend and setting this up, Monty, and again, congratulations on your truly beautiful and amazing brand new album, Love Notes.
You do know that the lyrics to Love Notes is Brian Jobson, right?
Yes, man. Eric was telling me earlier.
Well, Brian is really a true brethren, you know. We've
Wayne
been friends,
Jobson's brother, right?
Yeah, Wayne, that's Wayne's brother. And Brian and I vibe. We talk a lot about this, that, the other. And he heard that little song because I had played it. It's just a simple melody, right? And I used to play that.
Simple yet amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it.
It's a simple, like 3-4 notes, you know, da, 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 da. And I remember I made it at first time, and we got back some of these comments from the Facebook or the whatever platform saying, we got married to that song.
Yes.
Oh, we played that at our anniversary. So it's just a song, it's not a guy singing. And I realized it had a special qualities, like people talking to one another, saying, I love you, you love me, I love you. Yes. And Brian said, man, I can put some lyrics to that, man. And he come up with these beautiful
lyrics.
Exactly. So that's the only original, because I love the other songs.
Yeah.
As time goes by. And we dared each other, say, if I get a chance to do a volume 2, it's going to be all originals.
All right.
Because that's what it's about, you know, just for because there's songs to share.
Yeah.
Volume 3, I would like to pick some songs.
You know what, Junior? I would definitely give that a lot of thought, because if you came up with a song list and said, okay, all right, we're going with that day, or at least some of the album, you know.
Well, Monty, hey, congratulations on just an incredible career, and thank you for bringing so much happiness and rhythm, your own spin on it, really champion, you know, your country of Jamaica, but also integrating it, you know, as you do best into the world of jazz.
I should tell you something while we're talking. On the 5th of October, I'm going to be playing at this lovely place called Vibrato.
Yes. Okay.
Nice.
Because there is, I was telling you, this documentary team. We went to Switzerland. I came to LA.
Right.
I went to Jamaica because they're doing a documentary on my journey.
Excellent.
So part of it will be LA on October, several days before that, on October the 5th, at this snazzy, beautiful club.
Yes.
Where I'm going to be playing, and at least I would love people to know.
We'll spread the word.
Hopefully they come, you know.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to be doing what I do, playing different kinds of songs, but in the midst of it, I'll be there as a survivor.
We always try to catch you when you're in Los Angeles.
So Monty, is there anything that you haven't done that you want to do, sir?
Man,
besides bringing back your parents so they could see you, anything?
Oh, well, Junior, that's a wonderful question. I don't even know what that answer is. I've had this glorious adventure all along the way, you know.
Yes,
you know, the ups were far more than the downs. We all get a couple downs, the ups and the downs. But you know, you'd like to not just your parents, but you almost would like to bring back so many wonderful people that were in this world, that was why the world was what it was, you know, people that were thrilling to be around, you know, music people, but otherwise, and of course, the world keeps turning, young people are coming on, and, you know, you miss your friends and so on. So it's time is here now, you know, when we hit those years, you know, you wish they were all still here, but that's not the way it goes, you know. Yeah. So that's a difficult question, man. But as far as what I'd like to do, I've traveled the world, you know. In this next few months, I have the next gig I have is in Morocco.
Wow.
Wow.
And then after that, as far away, then I come west. I'm gonna be in Denver, Pittsburgh, Denver, Portland, Oregon area. Then I come to LA. Then I go to boy, may I try to remember this thing. Then I go to then later on I go to Mumbai, India.
Wow, okay.
So people are...
You're looking for a tour manager, sir?
I'm going to keep that in mind. Hold on.
You're creating a list of Junior's requests.
And they're all polite and not too complicated.
Well, sometimes I say, wow, we should, because, you know, Katarina My wife, she's doing everything, a lot of things, but sometimes maybe somebody else can join the crew, you know.
Well, she's
And
doing a wonderful job.
but so far so good as far as that's going. But I
Yes.
appreciate you said that. You know?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
man. Thanks.
Well, Monty, thank you again. Junior, thank you.
Yes, sir. And I guess anything else you want to part to your fans and friends, Monty, that we didn't touch on, sir?
Well, all I want to say is be good to one another.
Yes, sir. And still buy your music or you need a royalty check.
The royal check, it don't hurt when that
Yes,
come in,
right.
and then you know you can go buy 2 patty.
Right.
You go buy 2 patty and a jerk and a gizzard and a
Yes.
paradise plum and some mango.
You know, and you don't miss that living in New York, I tell you that.
Well, it's here, but you know, when you're in Manhattan, it's not so available.
But
Brooklyn and Bronx, you know.
Yes.
True.
But I often truly think about that. Just, I wish we had some more Jamaican restaurants
Right.
right here, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much. I
Thank you,
enjoyed
Monty.
talking with you.
Yes. Junior.
And is a website for Monty.
Oh, yes.
You have a website where people can.
Is montyalexander.com.
Yeah, wow, that's easy as ABC. Eh.
Easy as ABC, yes, and
Yeah,
all
man.
kind of paraphernalia, and I'll tell people propaganda, but the
Yeah.
truth is it's all true, because there is a quite an unbelievable history,
Oh, I love
through
that.
the
The
years.
photos, the photo
Yes.
galleries. Yes.
photo gallery,
You've
all
almost-
the newspaper items from
Yes,
even
yes.
early 60s.
Nice,
sir.
You know, where I was, sometimes I don't remember, but I'm still at it. As I tell
Yes,
people,
man.
I'm
Keep up the
still
good
looking
work.
for I'm still looking for those good notes, you know, on the piano.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, want to say thanks to everyone who, you know, is watching and listening.
Yes.
Thank you for your time again, Monty. Thanks to your family who, you know, helped to create ideal conditions. As you mentioned, Russell.
Yes.
Just to quickly to say, this is a very, very important guy in our midst. Russell does a wonderful work, and he has the passion and the love for the music. And he's all like family almost, you know, because we understand certain things, and he has been really, the word is gracious,
right,
very thoughtful, and I appreciate
Very well said.
what he is about. Russell is a brethren, you know, serious.
Yes,
Very well.
well, we want to encourage everyone to please follow us at History of LA Ska on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join our Facebook group. Please follow me at Junor Francis. This series is produced by my good friend here, Eric Kohler, for Rockery Radio at Rockery_radio. Thanks to everyone. Again, thanks to you, Eric.
Yes,
Any
thank
parting
you,
words, sir?
Junior. And Monty, again, much love and respect to you and the family.
Be blessed. Walk
Yes.
good.
Be well, everyone.
All right, John.
Until next time.
All right, cool. Take care.